Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson. And I know y'all missed me last week. I missed y'all too. But, it was a holiday and we had to take a break. But y'all know me, I didn't really take a break. I just maybe tried to rest a little bit longer. But other than that, I was out in these streets doing my thing. Those of you who I may have met at the Harlem Book Fair this past weekend, um, wasn't it an amazing time? Well, except for that time when God reached down and snatched our tent and blew it across the courtyard, and then it started raining on us and made us go home a little early. But I look back at that and I laugh. I had a great time. I was exhausted when I got back home, but just being back at the Harlem Book Fair after 20 plus years, that was the last time I had been to the Harlem Book Fair. So being able to come back this year was amazing. I really enjoyed myself, met some great people, and sold lots of books. So for me, it was a win. The rain was cool. God knows what he's doing. So there's no need for us to complain about that. But I am back. New episode. We have brand new author on who we're about to meet. I want you all to meet this amazing author is doing great things. They just released a new book that they're going to tell you about. And they're also going to talk about the whole process to becoming an author and an entrepreneur. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring to the stage Karen Parker. Hello.
Hey, everybody. So nice to meet y'all. Thank you so much, Rhonda, again, for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. And you're way out in California. It's still daylight
I
where you are.
am. I am. So afternoon, evening, daylight, whatever time zone you're in. Happy to be here.
I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, what part of California are you in? Remind me.
Oh yeah, I'm in LA. I'm in LA.
Oh,
So we're getting
okay.
that
So
heat
you're in
wave
the
right
big
now. But
city.
yeah, we're getting that heat wave, but we're staying cool.
Awesome. So, well, let's just jump right into it. First, tell everybody who is Karen Parker.
Absolutely. So I'm Karen A. Parker. I'm a Black, queer, non binary author, book coach, and entrepreneur. I specialize in speculative fiction, and I recently graduated with my MFA from UC Riverside Palm Desert, where I studied, thank you so much. I studied the African speculative literary diaspora, and my thesis, my actual creative thesis is a POC coded epic fantasy novel with some African influence. And I really talked about African oral storytelling traditions for my graduate lecture as well. So that's kind of my interest. My book, The Art of Capturing Phantoms Definitive Edition, came out 2 years ago, so it's still new. I'd like to say, but this is my short story collection of fantasy short stories, sci-fi stories, literary stories, and basically I tell people it's like my sketchbook. And also at all these conferences that people go to where they go to their favorite author, they always ask the author, how do you get your ideas? And I'm like, well, here are all my ideas. Here's how I got them. Because in the book, I talk about all of the inspirations and the footnotes and some of the changes that I made, because I did publish this back in 2018 as a PDF, but I've
Okay.
since brushed it up, edited the stories with some of the knowledge that I gained, and decided to put it as a physical book. So yeah.
So that's
Oh,
actually what I was
hi
going to
Sam.
ask about.
Sorry, I saw Sam in the chat.
Oh, I'm
Good to have
sorry.
you
What
here.
was that?
I saw Sam in the chat in
Oh, you
StreamYard.
saw
Sorry.
Sam in the chat. Okay,
Yeah,
right there.
yeah. Good to have you. Sorry about that.
Wow, there is a L. I did not know that there was a LGBTQ
Yes.
Editors Association.
Yes, I'm a part of the LGBTQ Editors Association. It just opened up, and I'm a mentor and a mentee in the Editors
Wow.
Association, and it's such a huge welcoming community for LGBTQ editors who want to level up, who want to get together, and Sam is a part of that organization as well, doing great things.
Oh, that you know what though? I think that's awesome that there. I mean, for any group that there is an editors association. Because I remember when I used to teach journalism at the Defense Information School here in
Mm-hmm.
Maryland. um, sometimes we instructors would sit around the table and we'd be correcting our students' papers. And then there were times where we would really get into a deep discussion about how something should be written. So
Mm.
imagine you all doing that same thing.
Yeah, where we talk about like the finer points of editing and just how to level up in the business. And as Sam says, we have 300 plus members, so I'm part of that nice 300.
Well, 300 plus members is amazing, though.
Yeah, no, it's growing. It's growing really good.
Wow, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Are you a part of any other organizations? Any
I
professional
am.
organizations?
Yes. So I'm a part of two editorial agencies. I'm an editorial sensitivity reader for Salt and Sage Books, which is an editorial agency that provides sensitivity reading for authors and game designers and all sorts of just written media. And I'm also
Okay, now I have to ask you, I have to stop you just
Please.
for a quick second because since I can imagine what a sensitivity editor would do. But can you talk a little bit more about how that works?
Sure, yeah, for your audience that might not be familiar.
Yes.
So, a sensitivity reader is an editor that primarily looks at like maybe problematic content or content that might be offensive and looks to maybe change it or present it in a more not, I don't want to say palatable way, but just like bring issues to attention that maybe could be worked on in a manuscript. So, for example, maybe you have a certain character that has a certain viewpoint, and that might be offensive to your readership. A sensitivity reader would go in and say, I see this language here that might be offensive to this group of people. Maybe we could reword it or unpack it or see how it fits into the story at large. So that's what I primarily do as a sensitivity reader, and kind of take a holistic look at stories like that.
That's interesting because I think that sometimes people will write certain things either for shock value or they might say, well, this is who my character is.
Yes.
Let's say, I mean, one thing that might just really pop out is race relations. And if you have somebody, black or white, who has very strong feelings about race and about gender and so forth, how do you balance illustrating who that character is and being sensitive to the reader?
Yeah, that is a question that sensitivity readers grapple with all of the time. And for me, it's always just, well, what is the story trying to say? What are you trying to say thematically, politically, and what that message is? Because I actually read a horror novel that had a very like racist character, but the main arc of the story that he kind of went through had him change that perspective. And also, like, I just knew from the descriptions that the author had that this is just who he was as a character. And the author of that book also put in an author's note and said, like, this character's views are not my views personally. And so there's that establishing of distance, there's that establishing of respect, and again, looking at it holistically, because there is always going to be that tug between art and politics for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know I stopped you. You were about to tell me about your other organization.
Oh, yeah.
I really wanted to touch on that.
Yes. I'll list the other two, but Tessera Editorial is another BIPOC editorial agency that is composed of all BIPOC editors, and through them I had the pleasure of working on a Chronicle Books title, so that was really fun. And I'm also an associate member of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association, because the lifetime sales of my book recently reached $100 and it qualified me for membership. So I'm very glad that I get to be a part of those larger communities as well.
I like how you said that your lifetime sales.
Lifetime sales of 2 years. We're hoping to get to 1K and 10K and 100K in 3 years.
Well, now I think we talked about this before. Fantasy and horror, actually, I believe those are kind of your jam when it comes to writing.
Yes, so I use the term speculative fiction, and
Mhm.
speculative fiction is an umbrella term for genres like fantasy, science fiction, horror, magical realism, maybe a little bit of like fantabulism or surrealism there too. But I gravitate toward anything that is not of this earth, or maybe like earth adjacent,
Oh wow.
if that makes
Okay.
any sense. I like the spooky and the weird and the magical and the mythic and just all of that, all of that good stuff.
I like how you put that. But I always wonder because speculative fiction isn't it's growing in popularity,
Hmm.
but often when we look at, especially when we look at authors of color,
Yes.
speculative fiction isn't usually the first thing that pops in our minds. What was it
Hmm.
that attracted you to that?
Yeah, and speculative fiction is a term that I had to recently acquire because, for the most part, growing up, I read fantasy novels. I read your standard Harry Potter, and I fell in love with Artemis Fowl by Owen Colfer. I was watching a lot of anime growing up, and just being in that sort of like fantasy pop culture realm, and also really being attracted to anime and manga and like Japanese storytelling in general. So Sailor Moon, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! And so this is just me being like the kid that I've always been in a way, but I get to do it in a literary sense. And I have thought of being like a screenwriter, but I did screenwriting for a few quarters at UC Riverside Palm Desert. And I'm like, that's going to be on the back burner for a while. I need to master the novel first and the fiction side first.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you take a very measured approach to anything that you do in the literary world. So, just in how you chose the genre that you prefer to write in,
Mm-hmm.
just your process of becoming a writer in the first place, and even how you started your MFA program. It
Yes.
was all pretty measured and planned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in that way. I think of myself sometimes like an outlier because most of the writing friends that I talk to, or most of the people I just talk to in general, they don't know what they want to be in like 10, 15, 20 years or something. But I was very like from high school, I wanted to be in an MFA program, like looking at the best colleges in California or elsewhere and seeing what program would help me become the next Owen Colfer. But yeah, that was a dream that I had, and now that dream is fulfilled. And yeah, it has been measured. It has been a journey for sure.
Well, that's awesome. I love that. Now where do you see going?
Ah, okay. Um, so right now I'm working on my thesis, which I developed in the MFA program, and I'm happy to talk more about like the structure of MFA programs too for your audience as well. But I'm working on making that thesis into a full fledged novel that I would then query to attract an agent, and then have that agent query it on my behalf to a publisher. Oh, hope I didn't lose you here. Hmm. I see. I see some wheel. Something going on. Hmm. Oh. Oh dear. uh. I hope we haven't lost the host, or they haven't lost me. Let me see here. Oh, okay. All right. I'll stay put for a second.
Karen?
Yes, I'm
Okay,
still
I
here.
have no idea what happened.
Oh dear. That
That was
happens.
crazy.
Yeah,
But
that
we are
happens.
back.
Good, good. Maybe it was like a commercial break or something.
Yeah, that's what we're going to
Just
call
yeah,
it.
we'll call it commercial break.
I was like,
um,
poor Karen and Daniel, they're just stuck wondering what to do.
yeah. Daniel, let me know. Danny got it.
Okay, so I think we were talking about your MFA program.
Yes. So right now I'm trying to get my MFA thesis into a working novel. And so typically in an MFA program, you spend 2 to 3 years working with professors and your students and getting feedback on your craft and just developing those skills. And what you usually turn in is a combination or mix thereof of a graduate lecture and a creative thesis. Usually in a master's program, it's like a more like research paper, but sometimes in an MFA program, or most of the time in an MFA program for fiction, you submit a thesis. And so the first 120 pages of the novel that I'm working on is an early draft of what I'm working on. So the nice thing about that is that my novel has been academically vetted and approved.
There you go.
So
It's almost like having your own Kirkus review.
honestly, honestly, I can ask my professors for a blurb, but they're probably too busy, so I won't bother them.
So could you effectively, let's say, because I have a book that I'm
Mhm.
going to start writing very soon. And I want to make sure that this is going to be a huge undertaking, this specific book, because a lot of books I can just write because it's contemporary fiction, but this one is going to be historical fiction, and I want to
Mhm.
hit on a lot of different points. And so when I get ready to write, I'm going to be deep diving on this one. So, would you effectively say, like, not saying that everybody has to take an MFA program when they're doing a huge undertaking, but is it a good
Mhm.
idea, if you to already kind of have a book in mind when you start a program like this?
I would say yes, it is a good idea to have a book in mind, but you don't have to. Some of the
Mhm.
programs you can kind of just jump in and you figure out your thesis process or thesis project, I should say, as you go. But for me, it was really helpful to be like, I want to work on this novel. I want to focus on these topics, and it's also if you're going into an MFA program of any kind, to find the people that support you in your endeavors, to find professors that are interested in the same things that you are and write the same things that you do. And so, again, just plugging my Palm Desert program over here, it was such a treat to have, Stephen Graham Jones and Gavino Iglesias as professors. Like that
Wow.
just, yeah, that
So, I
was
mean,
really,
you're
really
you're
awesome.
learning from the very best.
Oh yeah, from the very best. Just I could gush about this program all day.
and, and the reason why I make a big deal out of it, I have a writing background. Most of my writing is
Mhm.
a journalistic background, but there are some people who enter the literary industry with no prior training, no MFA, no journalism background. They just know
Mhm.
they want to tell a story. So when we can tell people that there are opportunities out there for them to improve their craft, maybe even pursuing a degree in what it is that you're saying you love, I think that we should. It's a service to those authors.
Absolutely. And just as a another, not caveat, but just an additional point to make here, you don't need an MFA to write or to be recognized. This is just something that I personally want because I like that academic setting and
Mhm.
I wanted that title. But N.K. Jemisin, one of my favorite writers of all time, does not have an MFA, but she did go to writing workshops. She did get that education and she did work to make that happen. And so a lot of I did a lot of that as well. I read a lot of craft books. I just read in general. And before I got into the MFA program that I graduated from, I was reading Black female speculative fiction authors like Octavia Butler, like
Yeah.
Nydia Okorafor, like Linda Addison, so that I could like figure out my literary heritage and figure out where I was in the story of that. But
Absolutely.
yeah, the education is out there, and also you might not get into an MFA program or decide not to do that, but you could work with an editor or a book coach like myself, or someone like a critique partner. But basically, like above all, not to you should not have to go through it alone. Community is everything. Community is where the education and the magic
That
happens.
and that's the big part of it. Is I think that's one of the best benefits of going through a program like this, because you start to
Yes,
build a community of authors who really get it, who really care, who also
absolutely.
see you, people that you can align with, basically.
Mm-hmm. No, that's huge. Again, we're all lifting each other up. We're all in the same kind of game. Even if you don't want to traditionally publish or independently publish, we all want to tell our stories in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now let's get back to your book, because you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
that you have a special going.
Yes, I do. So, in honor of the second anniversary, the book came out, or this version of the book came out on September 17th.
Put it right in
So
front of you.
no, yeah, I'll put it up again.
There we go.
sorry, y'all. But I'm selling signed copies on my website, and the first 10 people to order a signed copy from me through my website gets this nice limited edition postcard, Art Through It. I explain what Art Through It means in the it's either in the foreword or the preface, but just the importance of creating art to kind of process your lived experience and what you're thinking about. But to go to my website and get that signed copy, you'll go to karenaparker.com/merch, and then you'll find the listing for the Art of Capturing Phantoms Definitive Edition, and it should be pre-selected, but it says Phantomversary shipping, just to be cute.
Okay, so that was KarenAParker.com
Mm-hmm.
/merch.
Yeah, it'd be forward slash
Or
merch. I
forward
think that's the
slash,
word.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd always do that. Like, is
Yeah.
it forward or backward?
Yeah, forwards to the right, but this looks like the left. Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
No
Thank you for the
problem.
shout for the
Everybody,
link.
make sure you support this book. I'm telling you, there are more and more authors moving into the speculative, I can never say the word, the speculative fiction realm. And we've got to support these authors. Because, I mean, we're not a monolith. Everybody's not reading the same thing. So why not tap into that audience who wants to read something a little different and find out who
Yes.
those authors are and supporting them?
Absolutely. Like if you've ever wanted to like get to know me as an author after this show, this is the book to do it, because you'll just get a peek inside my brain.
I love that. I love that. So what's next for you? I mean, we still have a little time.
Yeah, I'm still working on the novel. I'm waiting to hear from my beta readers for feedback on that, and I'm
Okay.
also working on my memoir about my 3 years in Japan. I was an English teacher over there, and
Ooh.
there was a lot of stuff happening, like just my first apartment, my first full-time job, my first paycheck, first pandemic, so, and it all just kind of happened. It all kind of coalesced in that beautiful 3-year time that I still have a bunch of journals that I've kept of journal entries that I want to just coalesce and to process. So that's on the docket. But other works in progress include like maybe like a young adult kind of Miles Morales Static Shock thing. That's the 90s kid in me talking, and for sure. But yeah, I'm always tinkering with some idea, but those are the two main ones that I've gotten the most progress in, for sure.
Okay. Well, I'm excited for you, and I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking with me, and just introducing us to your work.
Oh yeah, of course. This was a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And let's make sure we stay in touch with each other.
Yes,
And
please.
any
Oh
way
my
that I
gosh.
might be able to support you, I would love to do so.
Absolutely. No, this has been great. And I will stick around and watch you talk to the what was it, the woman
The women's
collective?
challenge. She's running a
Women's,
little late,
yeah,
so I'm
there we go.
hoping that
Oh
she'll
dear.
be popping up pretty soon.
Oh, okay.
You know, you can just hang out with me a little while longer if you want.
I mean, if you'll have me, but I know my allotted time is coming up, and I don't want to infringe upon that. So
No, well,
no
like I
worries.
said, she's running a little late. I'm just messaged her to see where she is. But in the meantime, in between time, let's do this. Let's
all right.
Let's play a game. What are 3 things that every new author should know about the art of writing? You know, a lot of times authors are more interested. I'm not going to say they're more interested, but we focus a lot on promoting our books, selling our book. What is something that they should know about the art of writing?
The art of writing in general. This is actually something I've been kind of meditating on in my own work, because the thesis draft for my MFA program is going to be a little bit, or is looking to be a little bit different from the draft that I'm working on right now, because for the longest time, I wanted like one character to be in like first person perspective. I, my, me, mine. Yes. And now it's actually shifting to she, her, hers. And I stress the importance for new writers. And this is just one thing. I don't know if I'm going to find 2 others, but just the one thing that I'm kind of thinking of right now is there's your intent with the story, what you want from it and what your vision is. And then there's the actual reality of the story. And you have to find a way to tip the scales to make them meet. And the way that you do that is just through iteration. You have to try multiple different things. You cannot be stubborn. You can't just stay locked into like what you think the story needs. The story will tell you what it needs. And that's what I'm kind of realizing right now, in that it's shifting to third person, but also it's kind of not shifting into third person, because I'm using like we and our and doing like first person plural stuff. So
right.
That's also like the intellectual in me kind of having fun with storytelling. But yeah, the first thing I would say is like, you know, the story will tell you what it needs, and you have to be willing to listen to it. You can't be stubborn about it. I mean, the next thing I tell people is to read a lot, read outside your genre, read within your genre, and read books about the craft and about specific specific aspects of the craft, because it's not just it's important to look at authors that you really admire, but it's also really good to understand mechanics. I'm a very system-oriented person. So when I think of novel writing, or when I, try and teach it to somebody, I think of it as breaking things down into concepts. So you have characters, you have plot, you have setting, you have theme, and then that elusive one, style, which is like you can do whatever kind of style of writing you want for whatever story you want to tell. But thinking of things conceptually before you even attempt to write a novel. It's the same thing that visual artists do that draw. They study how to draw a hand before they draw the body, or they do those kinds of studies. They do gesture drawings before they try and do animation. So getting really systems oriented. And then the third one, I think the third one, I'll put it as optional, because most people who write don't go after publication. But if you're going after like a traditional contract, I would stress that you find a way to learn how to position yourself in the market. Because it's one thing to write a book, and it's a completely different thing to sell it. You have to know comparable titles. You have to understand how to frame your book in a way that entices and makes it persuasive to an agent or an editor and a press. And that is a different skill. That's copywriting. So I've got my 3, I think, but that third one is optional, because I know everybody has different goals for for what kind of story they want to tell and if they want to sell it or not.
Right. I'm writing it all down.
And you said you were working on something historical, like historical fiction, or?
Yeah, I'm looking at a historical fiction novel that I've been wanting to write for years, and I just think it's time to tell that story. And it's going to be set in New Orleans, which is where I'm from. You know,
yes,
I'm a Southern girl.
There you go.
Yeah, so it'll be set in New Orleans, and it's going to. I really want to hit on the theme of plissage. So that's something that we don't really see a whole lot. So I'm looking forward to that. And for those who are not sure what that is, that was New Orleans was actually it was one of the biggest cities with the largest population of free people of color. And often those women of color would have a relationship with sometimes a married white man.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was known. I mean, no, it wasn't a secret, so to speak.
Okay.
But she got status for that. But she couldn't be with anybody else. So that's one of the themes in the book that I want to be able to look at and explore.
That sounds cool. I love learning about like little bits of history that you don't get to learn about in school or anything like that. And my brain immediately, when you said New Orleans, like went a completely different direction of like young adult New Orleans
and like voodoo or Mardi Gras or something.
A little bit of the magic and all of that going on, but yeah. No, that's
there
just
will be
my
no voodoo in this book.
No, yeah, I figured, but that. It's still good to like, even if we're both working out of like, me in the young adult fantasy realm, it's still good to understand that like, customers who bought this may also like this. Yes. And to know your audience who might be interested in New Orleans stuff, because maybe later down the line, somebody recommends your book to somebody else.
Exactly.
So, always thinking in terms of where your book sits in the giant ocean of books that just comes out every year. just riding the waves, honestly.
Absolutely. But I think that's the most amazing thing. I write contemporary fiction. But I think people, when they hear Dr. Lawson, they think that I'm going to be writing a bunch of academic text. I like to write about real people and real things. But that's why I said when I get ready to do this historical fiction book, it's going to be a little bit of a departure from what people are used to seeing from me. But the level of writing is still going to be there. And it's actually going to have to be elevated a little bit because I'm going to have to really do some research and make the characters sound alive. And creating characters is my jam. I love my characters to feel like a friend of yours. I like to do little things. Like, for instance, if I have developed this character enough, a character may walk in the room and I'll never say that character's name, and the reader is going to know exactly who it is. So one example of that is I always use this example. If I don't know if you remember the author Elin Harris.
Elin Harris.
Yes, he was an author. He was gay. He wrote about gay men.
Okay.
And well, not just gay men. He wrote about the down low men and everybody else, but he basically wrote about male relationships. However, there was this one character who had gray eyes, and he has certain gestures. So every time another character was saying, I saw this man with gray eyes walking, we all knew it was Basil Henderson.
Trademarks. Yes.
He didn't have to describe himself. He didn't have to say, I used to play football or anything like that. We just knew who he was. And so that's what I've always loved about my characters. The late Eric Jerome Dickey was the same way. He had, I called it the Gideon series. I don't think he actually officially called it that, but he had this series of books about a contract killer. And the way he would describe that character, and just his mannerisms, the way he thought, you almost knew exactly what he was going to do. And it made you care, even though this was this was not a nice man by any stretch of the imagination, but he was able to humanize this killer to where the killer was the main character in the story, and you're almost cheering him on. Except when he got ready to kill somebody, and then you're like, ooh.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love novels that do that.
I love to develop characters so the reader knows exactly who that character is. They can cheer that character on. They can care about that character. Mm-hmm. And I even had a lady tell me one time she hated my characters, but she didn't hate them because they weren't well developed. She hated them. She hated their personalities. And then when she finished reading the book, she was like, "I wonder whatever happened to Andrea." Or I wonder
that I have to put this up there for the writers that are listening out there, because like I had to I completely agree with all of what you're saying. I'm a character first writer, and for a long while I was in the school of, well, I have to make my characters likable.
Yeah.
and that is a trap. That's a trap, y'all, because some of the characters that I write, I would not sit down and have a sandwich and tea with them. I would probably like never pass them by or say hi to them on the street.
The characters you love to hate.
Love to hate. But most importantly, you have to understand the characters. You have to understand their motivations. You have to understand their backstory. You have to understand why they're doing what they're doing within the story. And once you understand them, then you've got it. But if you don't understand them, you're going to be confused, and you're going to fall out of love with them just instantly. And it sounds
Marvel does a great job with their villains, because they're villains because, well, they've told us that they're villains, but when you hear their story, you're like, wait, is he right? Killmonger, he makes a good point though. The story.
Killmonger. Oh, please, yes, more of him, please.
Yes.
Wherever did he go? Where did he go?
And then who was the I'm not a huge Marvel watcher, but every once in a while I'll go to the movies. But I always watch the villain in a Marvel movie, and I've always noticed that Relentless Aaron says, makes you endear the villain. And it's true. There's not one villain in any Marvel movie that you can totally hate. Because they've done there's a reason why they want to do what they do. Like the one character who said that there were too many people in the world, and that 50% of the population had to die because with there being so many people, it was killing the environment.
I'm not ripping Marvel really well here.
I can't remember who it is, but no, I can't remember. I told you I'm not a huge Marvel watcher, but I do remember that storyline, and it was so interesting to me how that character thought. It's like, wow, he's really, in his mind, in his way, he's trying to protect the environment. He's doing it in a really treacherous way. But
I like that example you brought up, because it's like we all have the same, hopefully all of us have the same desire to save the environment, but the desire becomes twisted. It's like, sure, we want to save the environment by recycling and taking away like carbon emissions, but we don't think about killing 50% of the Earth's population or anything like that. That's morally twisted. That's on a different side of the spectrum.
And that's what I'm saying. It was a really treacherous way that he wanted to resolve this problem, but it was like he had, I wouldn't say an endearing quality, but in a way he was right about the environment. But do you do it that way?
Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
But and to what Sam was saying, what Aaron is talking about, like Marvel has just like made it their homegrown recipe. That is their secret sauce. That is their flavor. And compelling is another way I can another way of saying understanding, like someone that you are drawn to and that you want to know more and that you understand just a little bit of, so that you can like practice that empathy and have your mirror neurons in your brain start to flash.
Right.
That's good storytelling for me.
Amen. Amen. See, this is why I knew I wanted to talk to you on the show.
Yeah.
I totally geek out when it comes to talking about great writing.
Yes. That is my bread and butter. That's what I got an MFA in. That's the whole point.
I love it. Well, our next guest apparently, she just messaged me, and she's not going to be able to make it to the show today.
That's
so
unfortunate.
It's okay. But I'm not going to make you stay on the entire hour. But I do want to thank you for joining me and just staying with me a little bit longer and talking about writing. And I really want to make sure I'm going to cut up this video in a few different ways, because I think we touched on so many things when it comes to the art of writing, and that it's not just about selling books. Sometimes it's about the journey of writing the book and creating stories that are going to affect the next generation.
The journey is super important, and also not just the journey itself from where you are right now, but the journey at large. Because for most of my writing journey, and I talk about this in my graduate lecture, for most of my writing journey, I had been presented all of these writing aphorisms decontextualized. So show, don't tell, kill your darlings. Like, don't write more than 50,000 words for a novel. But once I started reading the, yes, you are waiting for sure. If you're a storyteller, you can do that for sure. But once you recontextualize, then things start to make sense. Because when I studied African speculative literary authors like Butler, like Jemison, I saw ways in which their writing was similar to mine, and I didn't even know it. That they were talking about Western storytelling convention and breaking it. That they were, borrowing from, not borrowing from, but honoring African oral storytelling tradition in the way that they talked about, in the way that they used repetition and resonance in their work. So don't go it alone. Look to your literary ancestors, living and past. Like that is important too, because if you understand the context and the history of it, you're going to be so much more informed. You're going to actually be a part of the conversation. And this is an ongoing, evolving conversation.
Man, you know what? I couldn't have said it any better. You just ended the show.
I'm trying. I'm trying to spread the wisdom over here. I'm trying. Proselytize it.
Karen, I totally appreciate you. I really enjoyed our conversation. Like I said, we have got to stay in touch.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, stay in touch. I'd be happy to come on again if that's something you're interested in, and
absolutely,
just absolutely talk the tea, talk all the stories.
I think we really should have a show that's dedicated not to promoting, not to marketing. Not that those things aren't important, but why market a piece of trash? We've got to. If you can sell a piece of trash, you're doing well. But why not? Why not? Let's talk about how we can make our writing better. Well, I don't know. Do you remember that episode of The Cosby Show when Vanessa brought home Dabness? Vanessa came home from college and said she was getting married to Dabness. Vanessa was 19 years old. Dabness was 29. And first, Claire and Dr. Huxtable, they were upset, but then they got to talking to Dabness, and they actually kind of liked the guy. And what happened? Cliff Huxtable, he tells Dabness, you know what? I don't like you, but it's not that you're a bad person.
You know what?
He said, but I want you to think about, you like steak? He's like, yeah, I love steak. How do you like your steak? Oh, I like my steak medium rare. All right. And let's say I make you a steak, sizzling and smelling good, and I give you some peas and some mashed potatoes like that. That was like, yeah. But he said instead of putting it on a plate, I put it on a garbage can lid and give it to you.
Oh,
he said
no.
it's not the food, it's the presentation.
Yes.
He said, so you're a good guy, but I don't like you because of the presentation, because Vanessa just brought him home and sprung Davines on them.
Marking a piece of trash. You know,
he said he's sticking
they're
it
out there.
Sticking
above the desk. That, I mean, yeah, and honestly, presentation is a lot. I mean, I shout out to my friend Morgan Watchhorn, who's got a book coming out with Knopf Young Readers, Fire to the Stars, added to Goodreads. She helped me a lot with just understanding presentation and structure, and not just the story I'm telling. Because you can have a great story, you can have all of the parts that are working, but it's that style, it's that thing that makes your story yours, and the only, like, the thing that makes it's your literary footprint, or your genetic code, or something like that. But yeah, presentation is definitely important in all things.
Well, Karen, I'm not going to keep you. I keep saying that. I'm like the preacher. Who says I'm not going to be up here long.
I'm not going to be. Wait a minute. Oh no, come back. No. I get it. I get it. We can talk all night. I understand.
Yes, we can, but we're not going to do that. I'm gonna let everybody have their night back. But
thank y'all so much for coming.
Yes, thank you for coming. Thank you, Karen, for a great conversation. I hope everybody who was watching got something out of this. In fact, we got a couple of comments from people who don't really comment a lot.
Yeah, good to see my people here. Good to see you all here.
Karen, best wishes in everything that you do. I will definitely be supporting the book. Thank you, Sam, for sticking with us and rolling with us for the last 50 minutes. We appreciate you.
Yes. Absolutely. And just a reminder, KarenAParker.com/merch. First 10 people get a signed copy and that nice postcard.
Absolutely. And let me put your website back up. Daniel, if you can find Karen's website so we can remind everybody where they need to go to order the book.
Yeah, that was KarenAParker.com/merch.
Oh, so while we're looking for it, Sarah Phillips said really interesting topics and advice. Thank you.
Yeah, that's my girl, Sarah. That's my BF.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. And here's your website, KarenAParker.
Yes, thank you so much.
/merch. I'm just saying / I told you I never know back up front.
Yeah, most of the time it's / in the URL, so you're good.
There you go. All right, and everybody, just before we hang up, I want to remind you guys that the For the Culture Book Awards, the submission period is open now. It is open now.
Go submit.
So if you are a fiction author and you have published your book within the last 2 years, you definitely want to be a part of this contest. It is open to everybody who is a fiction author. It's called For the Culture Book Awards because this is about pouring into and uplifting African-American culture. So if you are a fiction author and you have written work that just pours into our culture and celebrates our culture, no matter what it is, like I said, we are not a monolith, then you definitely want to be a part of this contest. And like I said, the submission period is open. So just go to my website, www.mtwimagesolutions.com. It's right there on the screen. And go to For the Culture Book Awards and submit your book. I want to read your book. We want to be able to support hundreds of authors with this contest, and we want you to be a part of it. Next, don't forget that we are also looking for sponsors for the Black History Month Literary Weekend, which is taking place February 20th through 22nd, right here in the DMV. The author slots are filled, so Karen, you need to be in the one for 2026 when we go to New Orleans.
2026? That's so far away.
2025 is sold out.
Oh man, I need to get on that wagon. Shoot.
Yes, come to New Orleans. It'll be fun.
Yeah. All right. I'll put it on my calendar.
Thank you. So, but you can be a sponsor. We're going to have the Black History Month daily quiz, and you can sponsor a question, the question of the day that will help to get some exposure for your brand, for your book. You can also sponsor a Horizons episode. Those who do that will not only get some extra exposure for their book, but they'll also get a custom book trailer that they can use for their own use. So there are lots of ways that you can be a part of the Black History Month Literary Weekend for 2025, but you just can't be a featured author until 2026 because we're all filled up.
All right. I'll find this out. I'll probably be like January 2026. You'll see me pop up in the inbox.
Funny. And don't forget the books. These are two of my books.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah. A New Renaissance, which is a celebration of African American fiction, and Trust is my novella. It's all about a man that broke too many hearts, and he got.
That is a stunning cover. I love
Thank you. All right, so this is the end of the night, guys. I hate to say it, but we got to go.
Yeah, time to go. Time to let y'all go there.
Yes. All right, y'all. God bless you. Thanks once again for supporting the Horizons Author Lounge. It's been a blast. Make sure that you meet me tomorrow night on Black Authors Matter TV at 8:00 on the National Black Book Festival Facebook page, and then come right back here next Monday night to meet two new authors and chop it up with us. And we're gonna geek out about writing again.
Always
right,
geek out about
writing. Have a wonderful evening. God bless you and good night.
Night, everybody. Thank you.